Well, thank you for coming. So this is sessions about amplifying student agency. So how do we give students ownership in the learning process, whatever it is you're doing in the classroom? And so this session is all about agile moves and authentic grooves. So DJ hit the, no, I'm just kidding. But I am excited to be here. As Manny said, I do a lot of work with authentic learning. I coach a lot of districts on implementing essentially, I call it PBL on steroids in the classroom, because we're working with community members, we're bringing in businesses, and kids are actually being part of the solution. And so I get wildly excited about that because I think it changes trajectories, and I think it really inspires students to find out who they want to be and find out more about themselves as young people. So I'm Laura Williams, as Manny said. My mantra is take care of people who take care of people. So thank you for having me. In a Zoom chat real quick, I just want to get some happiness going on. Give me a pride moment or a celebration that you've recently had. Get some love in the chat. And it kind of wakes us up too, I think. So something cool going on. Oh, that's pretty good. Lunch. Yay. Pool days. I will celebrate pool days as well. Suntans, not sunburns though. Oh, seeing your dad. That's amazing. Iced tea. It's the little things, right? Heck yeah. Well, thank you guys. Keep sharing the positivity in the chat. We love to see it. I only have 20 minutes, unfortunately. I have so much to tell you. So my disclaimer is curiosity over anything else. If I say some words that you're like, I've never heard that before, and you Google it, then my job, I was successful today. I would love to follow up with any of you if any of this resonates with you, or you're like, yes, I want to do that too. I have so much to share. I just can't get it all in 20 minutes. So that's my disclaimer for today. So this is our task board. This is also Zach Moore's timeout moment, an agile tool. So to do, doing, and done, a really simple technique to help kids visualize what they're working on. This also mitigates some of those pain points teachers have. What are we working on? It also is a tool to really elevate student ownership when they start to populate their own tasks. So this is the task board. We're doing that right now. We had our intro, so we got that done. The next thing is Authentic Learning 101. So I've sort of just kind of used this term, authentic learning, as a way to talk about essentially work-based learning or career readiness, future-ready learning. There's lots of words for it, but essentially we're taking project-based learning and learning curriculum kind of to another level, another dimension, bringing in business partners, community, and we're inviting students to solve real problems, to get passionate about their communities and how they can contribute. So contribution is a big part of this. The picture you see in front of you, I picked this because it's beautiful, but this is, and I'm from Iowa, so no judgment there, but barn quilts are like a big thing in Iowa. And so you can see an example of community placemaking with this barn quilt. Students designed it, students fundraised for it, they planned a local event. This was cross-curricular, so different classes took part in this. So kids were learning curriculum, but then also being part of the community and solving a problem, which was how do we get more people downtown? How do we get people shopping local? The other you see just as another example when I say learning, these students placed to lay a high-speed fiber optic network. So I don't know if your communities face this, but I know we've really depended on internet, especially since the pandemic. We're all virtual, we're working from home. And so many communities are starting to get high-speed fiber optic internet. So these students worked with a local telecommunications company to help map out the most cost-efficient route. They learned about public right-of-way. They learned about, cost and budgeting. They learned about what the heck is fiber optic internet, which was kind of cool. they started learning about how internet actually works. So many standards come to us. That's really a thing I can do to cheer people on in that direction. So this is sort of my definition of what authentic learning is. You're connecting to experts to further the learning. Oh, is it breaking up? I see that.
Yeah, if you turn your camera off, it helps.
Okay. Is that slightly
Yeah,
better?
we learned that in the pandemic.
I know. I just wanted to believe that the internet was great. Okay, sorry about that. Also, producing and creating a deliverable for someone beyond the classroom. So, how are we creating those contributors? What problems are we solving? So kids can see themselves in those solutions. Engaging in a real process to help develop skills or gain knowledge. This is where sort of partnerships come in, like for that technical, like how do we do things the way they do in business and industry? So what are those skills? And one of them I'm going to show you is Agile coming up. And I would say the caveat to this is it doesn't have to be outside the classroom. There's problems and challenges that kids can be part of within our walls. So how do we help them take ownership of their schools and their communities and their campuses? So this is kind of in action. You see students planning and preparing. There's physical and digital tools. This is a student. Hopefully this works.
I would describe this kind of learning as independent and you kind of run your own path of what you're learning. And that's kind of what I've really liked about the program. Some benefits of working with real world businesses. Were like treated like real people and adults. And I've also learned a lot of like public speaking skills, and that has helped me a lot.
So that was my student. She was super shy. You wouldn't know how well she was doing just because you didn't have enough evidence or data. And yes, like Jessica, what were we treating you like? And so kids know the difference. They know when the work matters, they feel it and they take ownership of it. And honestly, if we want kids to be good at problem solving, we have to give them real problems to solve. They know the difference. So that's kind of been my shift as an educator, moving from fun PBL, here's a project, let's build this thing, moving to more of these real situations. Because what happens to those, like, okay, kids, we're gonna spend all this time hands-on, build this thing. By the end of the day, they get their grade. Where does it go? In the chat, where does that thing go? Where do you guys think it goes? We'll see who gets it. Trash. Yes, Sarah, it goes in the trash. And like, as someone who's like an eco champion, I was teaching kids about biodiversity and things like that. Like, how am I contributing to the welfare of our globe, our community, if it just goes in the trash? And so how do we go to that next level to make it matter? So I've spent the last about 10 years exploring this space. And so here are some tools to get the conversation going. My community soars. I love that prompt. It's a great thinking prompt for kids to think through, like, well, what could we do? What could be the strengths of this? I like using this with community partners. Bring them into your school. Have a Billy Madison day, like back to school. Have community partners eat lunch and think about, like, how can we shift our experience? So the how might we is a great prompt as well. And then I love the project hackathon because it's really simple and straightforward. Like, what are our ideas? Which one are we going to pick? Who are our partners? What are key resources? What do we know about it? And what do we need to know about it? So it really gets the ball rolling on how we can launch an authentic experience. I also have a ton of resources and tools for you guys, all free, open ed. I have a Project Maverick book it's a project launch start to finish. I'll throw those in the chat here in a moment. But we've done a lot of work in Iowa around this. And so there's a ton of case studies celebrating Iowa authentic learning. So from preschool all the way up to 12th grade, we have examples of what this could look like and what class or curriculum it could fit in. So I'll throw those in the chat. But I got to keep rolling because we only have like 8 more minutes. So how do we do all the things that we're trying to do with our students in the classroom besides core academic content, like all those things. Like, how do we do that? Well, you just fold it in, right? It's that easy. Well, how do you fold it in? And I found myself anchoring to this thing called modern agility. How do we make safety a prerequisite, tending to that culture? How do we make people awesome, help kids see their strength, deliver value continuously, like moving away from the sit and get, the things that end up in the trash or don't really move the bar for our kids. And then how do we be risk takers and experiment and learn rapidly? So really trying to operationalize growth mindset. We all want growth mindset, but how do we get there? Real quick, how would you describe your classrooms right now in the Zoom chat? Chaos, structured, flowing, or always changing, busy, evolving? Amen. Yeah, they are. Controlled chaos, structured, always changing but fun. Oh, I love the attitude there. Organized chaos, all of the above. Exactly, right? Like things happen. This is people work. It's hard to contain. And so, again, this is why I really love thinking through my classroom in this way. And the processes that I've sort of adopted is what I would call an agile classroom. And so, how do we navigate the people in the room? And what are those barriers when you get a team of students together? What often goes wrong? Can you guys share that in the chat? Off task behavior. Yep. Free riders. Yeah, like people don't pull their weight. One person does it all. Kids are coming and going. Arguments. There's lots of sources of dissonance. And I believe that Agile is a way to give structure to that chaos. So again, I don't have a lot of time, and I really do. I would love to spend more time with you on this, but giving a framework and flow and tools to help make learning. So I use an iterative project management framework using visual tools like Scrum boards to do the work. So we have our vision. We start with our ideas. And usually I like them to be student led because then there's a ton more ownership. We start to map the project out. We create a project backlog, and then we start breaking down those tasks into smaller tasks so we can divide them out amongst the team so everyone can pull their weight. We monitor it. We give a chance to plan our week out. We have check-ins. What did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? And what are your impediments to success? Because I believe teachers are the impediment crusher. We start doing the work. We build in time to review the quality of our work and give feedback. And then this is a new one that I never really had the opportunity to incorporate until I learned about Agile. And really, I feel like it's one of the most important things and the secret sauce of improvement, which is a retrospective, giving kids the time to retrospect on their processes and behavior as people part of a team. So what worked well, what didn't work well, and what could we do next time differently? This is a project canvas that you guys can have access to. It helps kind of keep that flow, but all organized and managed. But it doesn't just apply to projects. This type of agile learning can apply to any kind of learning. So what is it that we're doing is on our learning backlog. So if you think about, okay, so maybe we have an Edpuzzle activity on our backlog, and then maybe we have some gallery walk on our backlog, and maybe we do, whatever it is you're doing in your classroom, we can be agile about it and start to scaffold in self-led, student directed learning. And here's a learning canvas to kind of help you see that. And you can see when kids start taking ownership, they start to learn to set goals, and then they can identify and articulate what's standing in their way of success. So again, really amplifying that agency. Here's kind of what it looks like. Lots of ways to do this. Get your washi tape out and get your walls, get your whiteboards. You can print canvases. I like to use chart paper. It's cheaper and it stores well, but lots of ways to do that. It's great for teachers too. It's a great methodology for planning if you have a big initiative. Here's some examples from a robotics team, getting teams on the same page aligned with their visible tools. And the great thing about Agile is like, we know that it's this chaos, and we might have a different plan. So how do we harness that? I really like this one, how projects work. I'll let you guys take a look at that. I might stick this landing. I have 3 minutes. So this is funny. I always laugh at how the customer was billed, like what we needed and what we wanted and how we were billed, how it was documented. Probably the math teachers can relate to that one. But this is what happens with people work, right? We all have different cognitive biases. And so creating visible space to see what's going on and to ask questions can bring clarity, because this is people work we do, and people are buggy. And so I really love Agile practices because it kind of acknowledges that, but then gives us strategies and tools to move the work forward and to grow and develop in our skills. So overview, like high level, Agile is about transparency. It's about, getting kids on the same page with things like definition of ready and definition of done. It brings introspection. So team building, strength building, identifying our strengths and identifying areas of where we can improve, and adaptation. Things go off the rails, and then what do we do when that happens? So it's kind of like a built-in fail-safe to keep moving forward and failing forward. So we move from I can't do this to I can't do this yet, one right way to many paths to success, and then mistakes equal information in an Agile classroom. So it's not that it's failure, it's that it's informing our next move, and we can embrace that. This comes from software development. There, if you guys are interested, that curiosity piece, you can look up the Agile Manifesto. But it's been really applied across the board in multi-sectors and industry, and it's really moved its way into education. And this is because waterfall just doesn't work, where we front load everything and then give a summative. And we find that, half of our kids didn't really understand the learning. So how do we iteratively approach learning in chunks? So that iterative, adaptive, shared leadership, and then adding value along the way. So it builds in space for that JIT learning just in time. And here's some employers. So if you're trying to get at that future ready lens, a lot of industry uses Agile project management. We're just simply taking this concept and applying it to the classroom. So this is clickable. All the resources are there to help you build sort of this authentic learning projects, and how would you manage your teams using Agile tools. So those are all there. And then just as a shout out, like for Edpuzzle, because thank you for having me. Again, I think there's a lot of utility in the Edpuzzle videos. I was just searching for some marketing ones. And so if you're working on a community project that involves marketing, there are some great videos, interactive videos on Edpuzzle that can help with that research and discovery. So lots of ways to utilize all the tools out there. So real quickly, we're at our end here. Can you give me 1+ from this quick mini session? And then maybe what's a delta, something that you're interested in learning more? And yes, we'll get those slides in the chat, and I believe you'll get it. I think Manny said that they'll share.
I have them.
Yeah.
We're just waiting.
Perfect.
But I have them.
Thank you. I'm so sad my internet stink. Was that okay, you guys? I went kind of fast.
Yeah, the audio cut off very, very little after you
Videoed. Okay.
took your
Perfecto.
Yeah, I remember seeing those charts with the posted notes and where the groups were going, and that's what I was saying. Like the teams were like, "Oh, wait, they already moved to the next phase. Why do we?" And they were like, it was not like unhealthy or like for them to get onto the other team, but they were putting pressure on themselves to be just as good as the other teams. And then when they were talking, yeah, I always, because I'm Mexican, I always call it Mexicanizing, okay? But teachers are very resourceful. That's the word. It's like figure it out to get to point A. And then they were realizing that some students were finding other ways to get to the same goal. And like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. And then they were helping each other. It was
Yes.
great. It was
Yeah, that's
great.
like ideal. Like that's agency, right? Like we're giving them decision-making authority in that kind of space.
Yeah, this teacher was fantastic. But it was not just the one teacher, it was they start doing projects in elementary. So by the time they get to middle school, they're already familiar with the whole concept. So
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I'm hoping this kind of spreads, because I feel like it adds so much value, and it changed it changed the way I operated as a teacher. And so just trying to like pay it forward. I'll throw my email in the chat if you guys want more. There are some live links here. So I do an agile, I said do. I do an agile, I do an agile classrooms teacher certificate class. So we will go deeper into those processes and give you more resources. I also do a Project Maverick workshop, which is all about building an authentic learning experience. So you'll leave that class with basically a project ready to go. I call them take and bakes, but then the tools and strategies to get them going. So yeah, and my website's authenticlearningalliance.org. I'm on social media at Mrs. Williams 21C. But yeah, lots of goodies there. The final thing I want to say to you guys is, thank you. You came here to make a difference. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Take the down and out and bring them up and in. It only takes one connection to change a trajectory.